Well, this is an interesting morning. I got an email from himself yesterday saying, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm pulling the pin. And with that, the word that Jim Herperger was folding his tent and saying goodbye to his many years at the legal firm of FH&P. He is the H in FH&P. Mr. Herperger is retiring. Hard to believe.
Well, it's 30 years.
Yeah.
Good morning, buddy.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's 30 years. I started 30 years ago. It seems like it only started yesterday.
Yeah, but it is 30 years ago.
30 years.
But you and Vizut echoed my thought a moment ago that you're far too young to retire. I'm far older than you are. So what the heck is going on here?
I'm 64.
Yeah.
So that's old enough.
Yeah.
I think, the other thing is we've got a bunch of young lawyers, some really great young lawyers that, they don't, after a while, you don't want to be the one that somebody comes into your office one day and quietly says, okay, gently, it's time to leave, or someone comes in and puts a bullet in your back of your head. So I don't want to be there. I don't want that to happen to me. I'd rather go out when I'm still healthy and, you don't
want to be that brick wall that is standing in the way of the advancement of some good legal minds.
That's right, and it's time for them, and it's their chance. And I had a chance when I had older lawyers that when they retired, they gave me part of their practice, which was great. And so what I've done is I've turned over my practice to three or four of the younger lawyers, right. And it'll be fine. And I've done letters to most of my clients and said, this is what I'm proposing to do. And so December 31st is my last day as a lawyer. I'm no longer a partner. I did a year of supposedly part-time, which doesn't work because it doesn't work.
So what happens to those people who were your clients? And I've talked this only a tiny little bit, but I do know that Jim Herperger was not above showing up at a hospital with a shaving kit and a towel and a hot face cloth and a can of lather and lathering up some of your old guys and giving them a shave, a gift of personal service. I know that there were nurses and doctors who looked askance as you trundled some of your clients and customers and people out and across the road to the smoking zone and actually held the cigarette for them so that they could have a few puffs and indulge themselves in their habit. What happens to those people?
Well, what I've done is I've tried to take the clients and put them with a lawyer who I think would fit, in terms of
nobody gives a shave like you do.
Well, no, but nobody, yeah. So, that's what I've tried to do. And, you always want to make the right fit. And some clients, some clients are going to react well to some lawyers and some won't. But we've got a couple young lawyers there that, have the same sort of view that I do about what their job is. The job is not about simply billing, and there is more to it. My big thing has always been pro bono work. So I've got a few young lawyers that, that I emphasize how important pro bono work is, which is free legal work. And you don't have to go up and you don't use it as a marketing ploy. You don't tell everybody how much pro bono work you do, and you don't use it in your advertising. You just do it. I don't believe in that business where you see law firms talking about all the free work they do for various agencies. I think that's marketing, and it's unseemly. I think that lawyers have an obligation and a duty. We do have an obligation and a duty to reach out to the marginalized and help them and assist them and not charge for it, and treat them with the same dignity and respect that you would treat any person that comes across with a whole bunch of money or someone with absolutely no money. So that is something that we do at my firm, and I'm hoping it'll continue. With the younger lawyers, it's a lot more difficult than, young lawyers now are under pressure to bill and hours and that. But my firm does recognize that and reward lawyers who do work quietly for the general public, those that can't afford it. And it's everything from helping out someone who can't afford a will to someone who needs help with the rentalsman and can't do it themselves and things like that. And we do it, and that's part of the job. And that's kind of and I as a retired lawyer, I can still do that. I can still do things for people, and I don't have as long as I'm not paid. So
yeah,
so I can still do it. I probably will.
O'Hara's talking in my ear and reminding me that Phil, you still haven't said, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Oh,
okay. we deep six to the commercials, which is what I like to do sometimes, but I do need to take a break. We'll be right back after this. I know that politics is not going to be a piece of the unfulfilled or unfinished puzzle in the life that is Jim Herperger, but it is a pleasure to have him here this morning on this his final radio broadcast as he retires and gets set to head out. He's got his son Scott here, who's
Scott, not Scott. No, Jesse.
Jesse, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, no, Jesse,
but no cigar.
Yeah, no cigar. I'm embarrassed now.
That's right.
Jesse, I apologize for that. He's here. I thought he was here to sort of help out the old man as you broke down in tears and said goodbye to a radio audience. But no, you've decided you're going out full of fire and brimstone. Because you'd indicated as well that you had a few hot button issues that you were going to weigh in on as your final broadcast.
I just, this has nothing. I guess it marginally has something to do with seniors, and I guess it does because there are a lot of seniors at poverty level or below in Kelowna, and I meet them. I see a lot of them. Most of them, I don't know any that are homeless. I haven't had that opportunity to meet any homeless, but
there's a few that are hanging out with their fingernails.
Well, I think they are, and of course now with what's happening with rents and vacancy rates in the Okanagan, especially in Kelowna, it's going to get worse for anybody who is on a fixed income, but certainly for seniors it's going to happen. But I just can't believe this thing with the City Hall with this turning around and giving tickets to people sleeping on the street.
You had to see it, Jim. There were 80 to 100 people last night in front of City Hall in this community. And as I've said earlier this morning, 80 to 100 people in protest in community, that is a big protest.
Well, it is.
In this city. That's a big number.
But they ignored it. And hopefully those people that were out there protesting, sadly, I don't vote here. I vote on the west side, which is another issue. They do as many dumb things over there as these guys here. But hopefully those people will remember next election when you come time to vote for these people. People who are homeless are still citizens of this community. Yeah. The fact that they don't have a home, the fact that they have no money, and they're poor, and they're marginalized, and they're mentally ill, a lot of them are, they're still citizens. And these people, these politicians, these two-bit, they have an obligation to do what's best for everybody in this community. And yet they have to take into account these people. Now, I mean, these people who are homeless and are if they're on social assistance, a lot of them aren't because they don't have a fixed address.
They don't have a bank account.
So they don't have a bank account or anything. They get $610 a month. Yeah. $610 a month. Now, if they're lucky, and I say that in quotes, and they have a disability, they're up to about $900. But let's say you're a single man or a single woman, you're $600, and there's a lot of women out there doing this that are homeless. $610 a month. Where are you going to find anything to rent for $400 a month or $200 a month because you still have to eat? Yeah. So there's no money. So now what we have is these people, I hate to say it, but these these bunch in City Hall who now decide what they're going to do is they're going to use the resources of the community. They're going to use high-paid enforcement people who get a good wage, and they're going to set up a procedure to give these people tickets.
Yeah.
To what end will that do? These people aren't going to pay the tickets. Then what happens? Are they going to start roasting them for taking them in front of a judge? I mean, what is the judge going to do? He's going to laugh at them. These people are homeless, helpless, marginalized. What in the world are these people thinking of? I mean, look at communities. Like, I'll give you an example. Williams Lake has a huge homeless problem, or it has had one. The City Hall went ahead with, the municipal politicians went ahead with various agencies, took an old motel, turned it into a residence for people who are mentally ill. Mm-hmm. They have that. They have a huge residence, low-cost housing for homeless and street people, both white and First Nations. They're doing something about it. And what about here? What we do is we start fining and giving people tickets.
Some of that
and they have no money. And we know they have no money, so they're not going to pay it. So what end is that? Well, it's to shame them. It's marginalization is what it is. A lot of these people are First Nations people. a lot of them are women. I mean, what in the world are they thinking?
They aren't.
They don't. What are they doing? So you have a problem. You apparently have a problem. People are complaining about homeless people sleeping on the street. Well, during the day, I don't see a lot of. I do. It doesn't bother me. I work downtown. I have a business downtown. It doesn't affect me. If it does, maybe what we do is we say to the RCMP, get out of your cars, start walking. Every day, 2 people up and down Main Street, all over town, have the RCMP out walking, and that'll make people safer. Why do we have the RCMP running around in police cars and not getting out and walking? If we have people on the street, if we have citizens who are upset by these people sleeping in alleyways, then get the RCMP out and wander around.
Yeah.
And maybe people will feel safer. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. And I thought this Bassran guy and the rest of them were sort of the Justin Trudeau of municipal politics. I thought it was a new sunny way. And they do something like this. This is ultra-conservative goofiness.
I have to say,
I can't believe it.
Okay, and I'm not trying to temper your frustration or your anger. Quite frankly, I don't know why they did what they did when they did it.
Yeah.
Because they've just appointed a woman.
Oh yes.
They've just appointed Sue Wheeler.
How much is she being paid?
Probably $70,000 a year.
And she's going to look into it in the next year or so. So in the next year or so, because the city's saying, well, we're going to do something here. We're going to do
over
something.
the next 16 to 18 months.
Yeah, we're going to do something. Okay. But in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll just kick a few down that are down. We'll just give them a few kicks in the head, just to show that we're doing something.
But don't you think if you've appointed her, don't you think if you're setting out her task and her mission, that you've got to give her some time to do what she's going to do.
I don't know. You need 16 to 18 months. I mean, they're doing this down in Portland.
My question
They're doing it in Portland and a lot of other cities in the country. I don't know you need 18 months. But at the same time you do that, you don't go and start giving tickets to people that have no money.
Yeah.
I mean,
get
that's
that.
stupid.
I get that.
I mean, what do they think they're doing? It's like, so somebody will say, well, my city council is doing something. Well, they're not doing nothing. That's stupid. And they have an obligation to these people. They have a duty to accommodate them. We all have a duty to accommodate. Unfortunately, we have the poor. We can't hide them. We can't throw them out into the industrial area. We can't kick them out of downtown. And you know, the gospel mission over here, for years I used to think they shouldn't be here, and it used to bother me. Thank God we got the gospel mission, and I'm glad they take the stand of we're not moving.
One of the most powerful forces in the downtown.
Absolutely. And you know what? Good for them. And we all need to realize that it's a problem. It's a societal problem. It's all our problem.
And what are we going to do?
And what are we going to do
collectively?
About it? Collectively. But going and giving tickets to people that have no money. Come on. $600 a month. And where's Christie in all this? She'd done nothing. None of these, and even the NDP. They're happy as the you-know-what on payday, and friendly, but when it comes to do something, they're not going to do anything. Neither party has ever done anything for these people.
That's true.
They don't.
We're going to be back in a moment. I need to take a break here. Jim Herperger is on a roll. I hate to turn down the rheostat, and so we'll just keep the temperature hot. We'll keep the frustration going. We'll be back in a moment. This is one of those mornings that I find myself wishing that the conversation that takes place while the commercial break is on was a part of the radio program because there are times there are things that are said in frustration, anger, and just outright clinical analysis as only lawyers can do, as Jim Herperger holds forth for a final time here as he retires and says goodbye to his practice. Has handed it off to a bunch of young lawyers over there at FH&P. So is Kelowna going to continue to be home?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
You're not going to disappear to the ranch up at Williams Lake and
I'd like to. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll be up there a lot. I've got a cabin I'm working on.
Right.
And I've got a bunch of things I want to do.
You need to put a satellite uplink. I guess, do you have internet service there?
Yeah, I don't use it much. I try not to use it. Try and avoid it.
You should become a philosopher, a psychologist / philosopher, and write with great insight, and then upload it to it to the.
Nobody cares.
Oh, come on, they do more than ever before. More than ever before, people who blog, people who write, people who prick social conscience are read as never before.
Well, that's true, but I'm not That's not.
It's not going to be you.
No. I mean, I'm going to do some things.
You're going to ride your horse and round up your cattle.
I'm going to do some volunteer work in town, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I've got a bunch of things I want to do, so I'm looking forward to it. And it's it's kind of exciting. I mean, I never wanted to be defined by my job, and I found myself being that happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, this is ridiculous. My wife's been retired for a number of years. You're 64. You got 10 years of good health. You might as well try and enjoy it. And you can stay in work and make a few extra bucks, and then what? You die. It doesn't matter. Or you get sick or whatever. And I've had clients and partners who've tried to work and then they get an illness and bam, they're gone, and it does
right,
and big deal. So have fun and do things.
Prior to becoming a lawyer,
yeah,
you were a teacher.
Yep.
Which would you, in hindsight, which resonates more strongly with your emotional core?
Lawyer. I loved it. I mean, the first number of years, and I didn't really want to be a lawyer. I just needed a job, and I didn't know what the hell to do, so I ended up going to law school. But the last 15 years or so, and I've dealt more and more with seniors and estate planning, I've really enjoyed it. And my firm has been good to me. My partners have let me go out and do more and more things. I've done lots of things that I wanted to do pro bono, and they've let me do it. So, I mean, it's the law, lawyers get a bad rap, and some of them deserve it, but it's a great profession. You can do a lot of good things with it. You can really help people. You can do good things for your community. You can do really good things for lots of people, and you can have a real influence and an impact in your community. And not a lot of occupations do that, allow you to do that. So I'm very fortunate. I think the other thing that would the only other occupation would be similar would be medicine. I mean, you can actually do lots of good things, and you can step outside of the box and do things for people, and it's been great. But the rant, I mean, no one cares about that. Probably no one cares. I mean,
okay. So let's go back to the rant. I had to turn the rheostat down a few degrees. Let's go back to the homeless. Let's go back to the challenge that the homeless are facing, and your personal anger.
Well, I think I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. It's what I expect of politicians. I don't have a lot of respect for them. I've said this lots of times on the show.
True.
I don't have a lot of respect for them. But the fact is that this can affect all of us. I mean, many of us are a paycheck away from living on the street.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that could easily end up there. And there's lots of elderly people who have very little income. And if something happens with their place or a fire or something, they may be out on the street too. And we have an obligation and we have a duty to look after these people. Politicians are great at all this nonsense, and they're the first ones there on Remembrance Day, and they're all running around glad-handing everybody. But when it comes to tough decisions, normally they duck, run, and hide.
Yeah.
So this is a difficult situation. But I mean the city hall. I mean the municipal politicians here they're doing some things for the homeless, and that's good. But you could do more. But this idea, it just doesn't make any sense.
Listen,
so anyway,
a couple of people.
That's the end of my rant.
No, don't let it be the end. A couple of people have phoned in. Some have stayed, some have not. But Jean, who is as irascible as you yourself, your kindred souls, has called in. Jean, good morning.
Good morning, Phil, and good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
I have never in my life, of all the years that I've lived in Kelowna, heard a man with such good truth and honesty and fact and morality. It's unbelievable that I actually hear this on a radio from a lawyer, and I'm just beside myself.
Well, we're not.
I am so happy. You've made my whole week, my month, my Christmas. You've made my Christmas.
Well, thanks, Gene. But, lawyers, we're not all...
Everything that you say, I feel sincerely. And I can't understand. We've got the richest, most millionaires in the city of Kelowna per capita. Why aren't these coming to the fore and donating money and creating housing and putting buildings and helping these people? This is what I can't understand. Millionaires, they've got multi-millions of dollars, and all they want to do is make more money, and they don't want to seem to help the middle class and the lower class. And that's thank you for listening to me, Jim.
Well,
I sure appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you guys.
We can all do. It doesn't have to be just millionaires. We can all do things, but we can. You know,
I have to say, Tom Budd.
Yeah, he's done lots of things.
He puts his money where his mouth is.
I mean, it's we can do things. We can tell our city council, whatever town we're in, and say, look, instead of this green space, whenever a developer comes and wants to do a development, you just insist on 10% low-cost housing has to be built. You just do it. That's the way to do it.
There is a formula, and I think that they have to make a contribution too.
Well, maybe they have to increase it.
They have to make a contribution.
Maybe they have to increase it.
Yeah.
But this idea, we do this thing with green space. Maybe we should do more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to go away. And the successful communities that deal with homelessness, they first of all get them into a home, and then they can deal on the other issues, which are drug addiction and mental illness.
Strategy was identified, called Homes First.
Yeah. And so, we're going to have to do it. And, the idea that it's someone else's problem or that they're moving here from somewhere else, and that was like old W.A.C. Bennett said. He used to say that the penniless Easterners coming in to cash in on the good life in B.C. Well, we're always going to get people moving here because of the weather, but, too bad. It's our responsibility. It's the nation's responsibility.
Okay, but so only because your philosophical hat is on now. So let's take this a step further, because there have been conversations. There have been any number of folks that have been interviewed who have arrived here in Kelowna. They've come from someplace else, and they've come here at the last 30% of their lives. They are at 50, 55, 60. They are now approaching the period of time in their lives when they're going to use more medical services than they ever did before. And they've come from Ontario. They've come from Quebec. They've made no contribution until now to British Columbia's health system. And yet they arrive in British Columbia and suddenly become an instant load upon the system.
Well, I mean, that's going to happen, but, we have a Canada Health Accord, and, the idea is that federally, everybody is entitled to the same level of care. These people quite often would have paid taxes, and they would have bought things, and they paid sales tax, and they pay income tax.
In the province in which they were living.
And so, but it's too bad. I mean, you can't put up walls. We're not going to put up barriers. We're not going to do a Trump thing here, where you put up walls, you can't let anybody in from the Maritimes or from Quebec.
Yeah.
You can't do that. We're not like that. That's not what this country's about.
It's not what Canada's about.
No, it isn't. But on the other hand, we talk the talk, but lots of our politicians don't walk the walk. I mean, they talk this. This is easy stuff to talk about, but to do it, look at the First Nations. I mean, the terrible stuff on that goes on reserves, and especially in British Columbia.
First Nations
and nobody's done anything. The Liberals or the Conservatives have done nothing for years.
Chiefs from across the country meeting in Ottawa today on a 3-day meeting.
Yeah, but I'm surprised they haven't gotten guns and gone after people. I mean, it's so bad on some of those reserves, and I've been to them, and I've worked on some of them. Where there's no water, no potable water.
Yeah.
People are, there's mold in all the houses, and federal and anyway, it doesn't matter. They've done nothing anyway.
Listen, you're on a roll. But unfortunately, we have to take a break. O'Hara said, Phil, you got to take a break. I have two calls that want to talk to you. We're going to put them on hold. We're going to be back to the phones in a moment. We've got two calls that are waiting on the line, but I just want to put this into the record with Jim Herperger and his rant. Carol wrote, Jim Herperger, thank you, thank you, thank you. I agree with your thoughts regarding the citizens of Kelowna who are homeless. If people would interact and get to know a few of the homeless, they'd quickly find out about sore feet, sore backs, woken up by security people in the middle of the night, having all their personal belongings confiscated, not having the money to get them back, and so on. I've seen tears as they speak of the photos they've lost, of the people they love and remember. One lady had her orthotics in her cart when it was confiscated. Can you imagine having everything in your home taken from you, and you have to pay an impossible fine to get it back, and you only have a month to do it? These people are people not that different from any of us. Thank you, Jim Herperger. I just thought I'd had to put that on the record. Let's go to the phones. Wayne is on line one. Wayne, good morning.
Hi, I happen to be a caller that just completely disagrees with what Jim's saying.
He'll be happy to take your call.
Well, I'm sure he would be, but I think, in general terms, this is just my opinion. I think that a lot of homeless people generally either have some drug addiction issues or mental health issues, and I know that this town is not absolutely racked full in the rehab programs. It's a choice that these people at one point or another need to make. They either choose to say, yes, I will accept your help, or no, I won't. And you cannot force that. And then to go on and on and on about tickets and stuff like that, loitering on the street and sleeping on the street, as last I checked, is illegal. And heroin use, crack cocaine use, last I checked, is illegal. And the message, I think the city's doing the right thing. I don't agree with a safe injection site because, again, the message is that we're going to turn a blind eye to a lot of illegal activity, and we're going to make it safe for you to get high. And that is completely the wrong message.
Wayne, and Jim Herperger might want to step in here, but you have obviously lived and not followed anything to do with Insight in Vancouver. It is not about encouraging the use of drugs. It is about a safe injection site. So if something goes terribly wrong, there are staff there who effectively can rescue you and prevent you from dying.
Are drugs legal in Vancouver?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. So since when are we legalizing these things? That's what I don't understand.
We aren't.
We are.
I think I agree with you in the sense. I agree with you the first part about these people that are. A lot of them are. I mean, mental illness and drug addiction go hand in hand. A lot of these people, you're right, are mentally ill, and you're right about rehab. There isn't. We don't have enough resources for rehab to get these people off and get them cleaned up, even if they want to. There's lots of times there's waiting lists, and I agree with you.
There's no bed available, even if they said I wanted.
And I agree with you, Wayne. That's I don't, and I agree it's a real problem. But the fact is, I just don't know what giving tickets to these people is going to accomplish, other than further marginalize them. The safe injection site. I really struggle with that too. Although I've kind of come to the view myself, and this probably you don't agree with this at all. I think we should just legalize the whole bloody works, and not just marijuana, everything. And if people are that stupid to do it, I mean, you're always going to have people becoming addicted because, I believe I don't know that it's a choice. I think it's something in your body that the switch gets turned on and, you're addicted. We're always going to have addiction. We're always going to have it, but we can sure do a lot better. And, the safe injection sites, I struggle with those too. I'm not sure how I see those. I don't like, I don't want to see people dying in the streets. On the other hand, people in the East End of Vancouver can live there with and do their drugs, and they're basically looked after. It's almost a city within a city. And I don't know that that's doing anything. I don't know that that's really accomplishing anything either, So
if a drug addicts and people with mental illness, they need help. They know they need help. They may not make that choice, but that choice is in them somewhere. They will eventually have to make a choice.
Yeah.
So if you start giving tickets to them, you start making things a little bit more difficult for them to get where they are. It's not about the money. It's about the fact that it ends up, again, they have to make a choice. Am I going to continue to do this, or make a choice that maybe I got to get off these streets? So the message that's sent by giving tickets is far more valuable. It's not about the money.
All right. Wayne, I appreciate your call. Thank you. Got to move down the line. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning. I agree with what Jim says, and I think that City Council would be better off than paying somebody to study this and paying all the people that, like the people that enforce this law, which they'll never get a cent out of. Why don't we take the money and do a good thing with it? Like help these people. I don't know how. And drug addiction and alcohol addiction is a mental illness. There's no way around that. Every doctor will tell you that.
Jackie, I appreciate.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you very much. Let's go down the line to number 3. Jenny, good morning.
Good morning. So I agree with the last caller too. I think at this point, we need to stop giving our opinions and actually getting facts. I think coming on here and voicing our opinion about drug addiction and not knowing how it affects the brain is, to me is pointless. The people out there, they do have a drug addiction. Not all of them. All of them have come from a place of they've lost their jobs, they've made a wrong decision, and they're on the road. That doesn't mean we throw them to the curb. I agree with Jim and and what he's trying to do. And I think we all as a city need to rally against these people because they come from a very traumatic childhood. They've had things happen to them that they never asked for. And to say it's a choice, their brain's not allowing them to make a proper choice, so they wouldn't be where they are today.
I don't think anybody chooses to be a drug addict.
No, they don't.
Or an alcoholic. I mean, no one, that's right.
I agree. Your brain becomes dependent on it. And that's nothing we can change. We have to treat drug addiction and alcoholism like we do cancer, like we do MS. It's a disease, and we need to get them help. I work in 2 centers, and there's not a lot of room in there. So there's nowhere for people to go.
The closest you've gotten to the truth, Jenny, is that even if you were a heroin-addicted individual or an opiate-addicted individual, and if you suddenly had a light bulb that came on over your head, and you said to the attendant doctor, "I'm ready," there isn't a bed to put you in. There isn't any place to put you into treatment, and that is the biggest problem.
I hope people remember this next municipal election.
Yeah.
Remember what happened. I mean, remember what this council did. I mean, you should remember this next time you vote for them. When they're all out there friendly as you know what on payday, and they want your vote, remember this.
Fred, good morning.
Good morning, sir. First of all, we're labeling them as those people. There are a variety of problems as to why they have ended up on the street. And one of the things is, some 30 years ago, government itself determined that they were going to close the mental institutions and put those people on the street.
Yeah, and I can remember when Riverview was closed at the West Coast.
And they never passed on the funding to the communities that were these people.
And Hill.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Kamloops.
Exactly.
And the other thing is that we have a situation where we look at United Way, we look at sending kids to a camp day. I think various groups sponsor those things because they want to do it. And what we have to do is change the attitude. Instead of saying you have to supply so much low-cost housing, people should be on the bandwagon to be wanting to do that to make a better community.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to change the mental attitude of those in charge as well.
No, you're absolutely right. It's far better if we can get people to do these things voluntarily on their own as opposed to having regulations. But
I think I'm a little closer to the safe injection site and far more on the side of approval of them. I've done extensive interviews with people who are running the safe injection site in Vancouver. I've talked with politicians and lawyers and chiefs of police and medical professionals, and to a man, woman, they all say that a facility such as Insight,
it's not a case of
save lives.
It's not a case of whether we want them or not. It's a case of society created part of this problem, as I said, by putting people on the street in the first place, and we now have 3 decades of that, and it is now necessary. It's no longer a choice of should we or shouldn't we.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Fred, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Need to take a break. When we come back, phones continue. Jim Herperger, his final day, as he heads off into the sunset. But, no, I won't say.
I'm not dying.
I know you're not dying. I know you're not dying. Although there's some days I'm sure you felt like it. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment. So O'Hara steps in with a little musical audio editorial. End of the road. Boys to Men. Mr. Herperger, this is the end of the road. It was a long time ago that through your office somebody contacted this radio station and said we'd like to do a series. And it was you who said you wanted to do. I don't think you.
How long ago was that? 12 years ago. Maybe?
12 years ago, something like that. Yeah. And
it's been good for me,
and it's been good for an audience that has learned, along the way about the law and the increasing complexity of law.
Yeah, and we've done other things too. I mean, we had the attorney. We had the who did we have on? We had a lot of interesting guests. We had the
public trustee.
Public trustee was
on.
in. Yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay
Chalk.
Yeah.
He was the public trustee at the time.
Who now has?
I'm not sure what he's doing.
He's moved further up into the bureaucracy.
He was good. Yeah. No, it's been fun. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed it. and it's been good for my practice. I mean, I get clients this way, but
Yeah.
that's what
That
I
was
initially.
not the intent.
Well, I think
Was
it was initially. Yeah,
Was
you're
that
always
self-serving?
Well, yeah, you're always trying to market yourself, but I stopped. After about about 2 or 3 months, we stopped just doing straight legal stuff and did other things,
other things,
which was good.
So here's the ask.
Yes,
and I already have listeners who have been writing to you here today. You've also heard from them by phone. We do on Wednesdays. For instance, Mayor Colin Basran will be tomorrow. And on the following Wednesday,
ask him about the ticket.
We Doug Finn later,
yeah.
And then on the following Wednesday, we have a group called the Gang of Four, which is a collective of voices, including Andre Blonley and Alistair Waters and so on. Sometimes somebody gets sick and can't be a part of it. Would you like to jump in?
Sure.
All right. I'll take that as a yes.
Sure.
Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure,
thanks for
my
having
friend.
me. Yep. Thank you very much.
All right.
And thanks to all the listeners. It's been great. It's been a good run.
You got it.
I had a lot of fun.